This short video, I want to explain some updates to the lactate shuttle. And to start off with, one update that was discovered were the isolation of different protein carrier molecules that will shuttle lactate in and out of the cell. And these proteins are called monocarboxylate transporters, and they're abbreviated MCTs. And if we look at lactate clearance, this means lactate would be lactate leaving a muscle cell and getting into the blood. And actually on this side of my simple diagram as well, going into a cell, there needs to be a transporter protein that will transport this 3-carbon lactate in and out of the cell. And these have been isolated and are called monocarboxylate transporters. So they facilitate the diffusion of the transport of lactate and pyruvate. So both lactate and pyruvate are monocarboxylates. And they're located on the plasma membrane and, interestingly, the mitochondrial membrane. And as we mentioned LDH enzyme, there are also different isoforms of monocarboxylate transporters. So just different forms of the same protein. And from what I understand, there are at least 8 different isoforms of monocarboxylate transporter proteins. The MCT1s are found in the more oxidative fibers, like slow twitch muscle cells, and the MCT4s would be found in more glycolytic fibers. So that then would regulate the direction, or what molecule is being transported and in which direction, in the cell or out of the cell. This next picture is from Andrew Hallstrap, and just very simple diagram. So here's a cell, and here's the blood, the plasma membrane, here's the mitochondrial membrane. So here's MCT1 that is transporting lactates into the cell where they can change into pyruvates and be transported into the mitochondria. The pyruvates can be transported in the mitochondria where they can be oxidized as a fuel source. Lactates can also leave the muscle cell, and as part of the lactate shuttle, then they could be shuttled around the body where they could be used as a fuel source. So these monocarboxylate transporters are also found in the mitochondrial membrane, which suggests that lactate does not necessarily have to change back into pyruvate, that the lactate itself molecule can be transported into the mitochondria where it can be oxidized. And that is a new part of this lactate shuttle. Something else that is new, some recent evidence of this lactate shuttle, and it was originally shown again by Brooks in 2009, and others have confirmed it, and this is the original diagram. It's sort of hard to see. But here's the outer membrane of the mitochondria. Here's the inner membrane of the mitochondria. Here's a monocarboxylate transporter protein. And so pyruvate can come in, but also lactate can come in. So here's a monocarboxylate transporter protein that will take lactate into the mitochondria. And what was discovered is here's a muscle form of lactate dehydrogenase enzyme that can convert lactate to pyruvate, and then that can go to acetyl-CoA, enter the citric acid cycle, and be further oxidized. And so this is sort of my diagram where here's lactate, and here's a monocarboxylate transporter protein that will take lactate into the mitochondria, be converted to pyruvate that can then enter in as acetyl-CoA. And using fluorescence microscopy, so putting a protein that will fluoresce when it binds to these monocarboxylate transporter proteins, So here's a muscle fiber. So this is a whole cell, and they've been shown that these MCT1s, and this is heart cell, are concentrated around the intercalated discs and the T tubules, the transverse tubules. And this shows different forms, MCT1 and MCT4, in the semimembranosus muscle and in the soleus muscle. And these are cells. So this is the plasma membrane, and this is also the outside of the plasma membrane. So this shows these monocarboxylate transporter proteins. And so lactate transport is essential for muscle pH regulation. And the monocarboxylate transport activity is regulated by the lactate gradient, and the pH gradients can also increase the rate of transport. And amazingly, exercise training will increase at least the MCT1 isoform of this enzyme. And as we mentioned, amazingly, MCT1s or MCTs are found in the mitochondrial membrane as well. So some new revisions to the lactate shuttle is that in the muscle cell, there are now these monocarboxylate transporters in the mitochondrial membrane, and even more recently discovered LDH enzyme inside the mitochondria, and LDH previously was only found in the cytosol of the cell. So several videos on the metabolic glycolytic system and the lactate shuttle.